Welcome to a Fuller Life podcast where we discuss longevity strategies, disease prevention, and improving quality of life. We explore the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social aspects of having the life you want. I'm Dr. Scott Fuller, and on this podcast, we're going to talk about seasonal allergy relief, and I'm going to wrap in there asthma and eczema, so skin issues and breathing and lung issues, wrapped into the same subject matter here. So this just happened recently. This is March of 2024 that a patient of mine came in, and he has been a patient of mine well over 10 years. He comes in once a month for maintenance care. And in March of 24, he says, hey, my sinuses are starting to fill up because I get seasonal allergies. I'm like, okay. So I talked with him about a potential solution. And I said, I have a lot of success with patients when they give up dairy products. Dairy products. He's like, really? And so you could tell he was really interested about this. So I said, if you're going to do this, you want to give up dairy products 100%. You can't just reduce them. You have to give them up totally. And I gave him the suggestion is, if somebody has a peanut allergy, how many peanuts can you have each day? And he said, none. And I said, that's right. So if you have a dairy product sensitivity, you might. I said, I'm not making any promises here, but if you're going to give this a shot, make sure that you go 100% no dairy products. And he said, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I sent him one of the videos. So on my cable television show, we talked about this in the past. So he comes in a month later in April of 24, and he said, I can't believe the recommendation you gave me. In 3 days, my sinuses have cleared up and it has not come back. I can't believe this. This is great. Now, he's also a golfer, so he's outside a lot. He loves to be outside. And of course, the allergies really get him. And he is absolutely thrilled. And after that great result, I went back down the rabbit hole of all the other patients that I've had in the past 31 plus years. And I thought about how many times, hundreds of times, if not thousands of times, I've given this recommendation. So I give this recommendation for seasonal allergies, spring, fall, more on that in a moment. Allergies year-round, some people have that. Asthma, childhood and adult asthma, and also for skin issues, including eczema, psoriasis. And for the people that actually have tried it, it works pretty darn well. So I'm going to take a few minutes and run through some other people, men and women, different ages, that had all kinds of different symptoms, but when they gave this no dairy product issue a try, they actually got really great results where nothing else was working. And they were taking various medications and inhalers and so forth, depending on the condition. And they tried this simple little concept and it worked for them, okay? Once again, this show here, this is not medical advice. If you're going to make changes to your diet or supplements, I recommend talking to your doctor first. Make sure that if you're on any medications whatsoever, you don't do any medication changes without talking to your doctor first. So just keep your doctor in the loop of everything you're considering doing, please. Okay. So then I was digging through some notes here, and this was a testimonial written by a patient of mine who's 24 years old. This is going to be at least 10 years ago. And the title of it is Neck and Back Pain Relief, GERD Solved, Weight Loss and Allergies Gone. Okay. So he didn't come in because he had GERD. He didn't come in to lose weight. He didn't come in for his allergies. He came in because his neck and back hurt, which is how a lot of people find their way into a chiropractic office, right? So he writes this up and he says, I've been seeing Dr. Fuller for about a year now. I was new to Woburn. I'm in Woburn, Massachusetts, looking for a chiropractor focused on my health and well-being. This is exactly what Dr. Fuller provides. As a patient, he took the time to learn about me as a patient and as a person. He sought to help me achieve my goals of a healthier, pain-free lifestyle. A few early adjustments and treatments with Dr. Fuller, we built up my confidence. Okay. He began showing me his videos and making recommendations about a healthier lifestyle. One of those options was to live gluten and dairy-free. More on that later. We're also pulling in gluten here as a sidebar. I thought he was about jumping on the latest diet craze, but I started it and saw results in about a week. That's pretty cool. Not only was I losing the stomach that caused my back pain, but I was also feeling healthier inside. So he was losing weight, right? My allergies are gone, my stomach fat is reducing, and my digestion is nearly flawless. So he was having digestive complaints at the ripe old age of 24. Who knew that a few routine realignments, stretches in between visits, and a minor change in diet could lead to a whole new me? That's great. In just about a year's time, I feel like I've reclaimed my body. This positive feeling allows me to live a happier and healthier life. With Dr. Fuller, I was able to achieve my goals, not because of what he did for me, but because of what we were able to do together. He cares about me, and that's what truly matters. And that was a great testimonial. So here's somebody else that heard some suggestions I made, took action, saw some nice changes, not only in his allergies, as you heard, but his gastrointestinal reflux is now gone, and he actually lost some weight too because he has a sensitivity to dairy products. And think about it, when you look at dairy, and why I'm mentioning this is, so dairy products, and when I say dairy, I'm specifically mentioning anything from the udder of a cow. Milk, cheese, cottage cheese, yogurt, ice cream, cream, and butter. Okay? Anything from the udder of a cow. Eggs are a different scenario. Eggs are from chickens, correct? Even though they might be considered a dairy product, it's from a different animal, it's a different form. Now, people can certainly have sensitivities to eggs, and people do, and we do test for that. But I'm specifically talking things directly from a cow, okay? So when people are considering this, I recommend you go 100% without. And I tell people 90 days. Some people it takes longer than just a week, or the gentleman that I said in the beginning was 3 days. Give it longer period of time to heal, because if it's not 3 days, you're like, that didn't work. Dr. Fuller doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go back to my cheese and my milk and whatever. Give it some time. Some people it takes a little bit longer. Here is another story written right on my website, drscottfuller.com. And this is a young man in his 30s. He might be 40 now, writing up when I gave him the suggestion. He had already been a patient of mine for a while. And I said, you might want to try this for your allergies. So he said, I have to admit the impact of giving up dairy had been pretty amazing. While it can be tricky at times, like eating out or cookouts, it's well worth it. For example, over the weekend, I was able to mow my lawn for the first time I can remember without being in complete misery before, during, and after. I can sleep with my windows open and not regret it, right? So a lot of people that have pollen sensitivities and so forth, but they calm down their immune system by eliminating dairy products, they can actually handle things in the environment better. I've been able to reduce the medicines I take significantly. I've not taken one Zyrtec all season. I've dramatically reduced my usage of nasal spray to maybe once a week to help with the itchy eyes. I haven't used my rescue inhaler since starting No Dairy, and I've been weaning myself off the daily inhaler as well. I used to be taking a Zyrtec daily, Benadryl or two, nasal spray, 2 puffs of his inhaler, and using the rescue a couple times a week during allergy season in years past. So he was using a variety and a lot of medication just to try to calm down symptoms. I do miss pizza, and he says, and a lot of people will mention that. And this recent batch of pollen all over everything does make my eyes itch a little bit. But these things are minor, and I expect itchy eyes to pass in time. Itchy eyes is way better than constant nose blowing, itching, and wheezing. It's only been about 2 months since I started the no dairy diet. I've slipped up a few times, but I've noticed significant process, as I mentioned. I really appreciate you introducing me to this cure for my allergies. I've mentioned it to friends and fellow allergy sufferers that I gave up dairy and the wonders it has worked for me. I'm constantly greeted with skepticism, which doesn't bother me, but I feel my friends aren't willing to try this. So kind of along with what he is saying, is I've mentioned it to thousands of people now, and it's probably 100 or maybe a couple hundred or certainly many dozens of people who are even willing to try it, because it's not easy. It's not easy, right? Please feel free to share my results with others, and hopefully they will inspire them to give it a shot. So that's another young man with good results from trying a process of elimination of dairy. This next story is really fun. This nice young woman comes in, and she was, it's really funny. She'll mention this in here. And I remember her situation. I remember her very clearly. And she was suffering with back pain and sciatica. My guess is at the time she was about 30. And so she suffered a good long time. It was at least months, if not a year. So we'll see what that testimonial says in a moment. And so many people were telling her, try the chiropractor, go see the chiropractor, try the chiropractor. And she said, I'm not going to. No, I don't know. She was reluctant to come. And finally, when pain wasn't getting better and enough people said, you've got to try it, she reluctantly came in, and she's so happy she did. So the story here, titled Solutions for Sciatica and Severe Allergies. You can see the theme here now, right? After developing sciatica in my left leg, I make an appointment with Dr. Fuller on a recommendation of another patient. I've never been to a chiropractor before and honestly was skeptical that it would help. But after a couple of appointments, I could already feel a difference in my pain level. Really cool. It's nice when people get results in a few visits. They can see light at the end of the tunnel, particularly if they come in skeptical. Over the last 2 months, I've been going for adjustments a couple times a week and faithfully doing the exercises Dr. Fuller taught me at home, and I'm virtually pain-free. Pretty cool. It's a remarkable difference from the way I felt at the beginning of the process. Now we get into the allergies part. And Dr. Fuller didn't stop at helping me with the leg pain. He also helped me in other areas of my health and wellness. I've been battling pretty severe seasonal and animal allergies for years, and at one point on 2 types of allergy medications just to make it through the day. Okay, so typical allergy situation, doesn't know what to do, on medications just to calm down the symptoms, but not really getting anywhere from a solution standpoint. Dr. Fuller explained to me that consumption of dairy products can lead to a more severe immune response to allergens. He advised me to try and limit dairy products in my diet and see if it would help my allergy problem. Okay, I had clout now, right? She was suffering in pain, reluctant to come see me, wasn't sure if it was going to work, skeptical, right? Comes in, I start working on her, pain starts decreasing quickly. A couple of months later, pain-free. She's like, what else do you got? And I remember actually her asking me in the office, she said, hey, this has really worked for my back pain and sciatica. So I've got these other things too. Do you have anything for me? Now she was open to having these discussions, right? I took his advice and cannot believe the difference it has made, and I'm no longer on any medications for allergies and hardly feel any of the allergy symptoms that I used to. I'm so thankful that I made this first appointment with Dr. Fuller. He and his staff are really friendly and welcoming. He's very knowledgeable about what he does, not pushy with his advice. So she's talking about other things about being comfortable throughout the process. I have no doubt in my mind about the benefits of chiropractic care and would highly recommend anyone with pain and other health and wellness issues to make a visit. Okay, great. So that's another person, again, not coming to my office because she said, I have bad allergies. Can you help me? Because I've heard you helped other people. Nope. She came in because she had back pain and sciatica, and then she got results with other things as well. Okay. Here's a woman named Lori. I can use her first name because she allowed me to. She was 48 when she and I had this discussion. She did not come into my office, but it was a discussion outside of that. Here's the title of this story, and this is more involved. So, rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, and gastrointestinal symptoms improved by a gluten and dairy-free diet. Wow. Okay. So she's got a lot of stuff. We talked about it, gave her some suggestions, and here's what she had to say. I started noticing painful swelling symptoms in my late 20s, not diagnosed with rheumatoid until age 31. Medications included prednisone, Paxil, now Celebrex and Enbrel, and on medical remission for several years. Great. Ongoing symptoms include chronic pain, fatigue, swelling in joints, wrists, fingers, knees, ankles, feet, hips. If anybody has inflammatory arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, you know what I'm talking about here. With medication, I'm able to lead an active life, and she's still very active, by the way. And at the encouragement of my rheumatologist, take up sports. I started with swimming and now cross-country ski, scuba dive, hike, and competing in triathlon. In October of 2011, so we're talking 12 years ago now, I decided a gluten-free, dairy-free diet based on information in a book called Clean. That's a book called Clean. And some friends with various health issues had had success with a gluten-free, dairy-free diet, and I, Scott Fuller, recommended it as well. So she does that October 2011. In November of 2011, 1 month later, I noticed immediate improvements. I continued through 3 full weeks, but felt so good that I went longer. So I think we gave her, I said, just try 4 weeks, right? Just to get her on board. For the most part, I'm sticking to the elimination foods, but not drinking as many liquid meals I did during the cleanse. I really feel terrific. My energy is back. Other improvements include eliminating GI issues, reducing my fatigue level, lessening the occurrence of edema in my feet and ankles, enhancing my focus and visual acuity, and eliminating asthma medication. When people with asthma come into my office and we do the chiropractic care thing and we do the evaluations and so forth, I will often, if not always, recommend a trial on a dairy-free diet. She's another one that not only did it for the other symptoms, but she also did it for her asthma, and there she goes. So she's off for her asthma medication. So several months later, in April of 2012, I checked in with her, and she wrote back, I feel terrific. I've been more or less dairy-free now for 6 months. Small amounts in restaurant food, but pretty much dairy-free. I've been relatively but not completely gluten and wheat-free. After several months of no gluten and wheat, I've found I can consume it infrequently in small amounts with no noticeable effects. My new primary care doctor said I may have had what is some people call leaky gut. Now, of course, lots of people know that 12 years later, and that it healed. So I've healed myself, suggested her primary care. So now that I don't have the same issues. So to repeat what she's saying here is if you have a food substance, which obviously your gut lining is going to be exposed to, let's say you have a food sensitivity. Now, food sensitivity is a bit different than a food allergy. A food allergy would be like I mentioned earlier in the show, where somebody has a peanut sensitivity, right? Excuse me, a peanut allergy. So they get anaphylactic shock if they have peanuts, okay? Fine, that's an allergy. A food sensitivity is a bit different. You won't get an obvious reaction after you have something. Now, some people do. Some people will drink milk and get stomachache shortly thereafter. And then they do that over and over again. So they reproduce it and they realize, I probably have a sensitivity to milk. You don't need any more lab tests for that. It's like, yeah, you probably do. Now, in that case, it could be a person with lactose intolerance. But in this case, when I'm talking food sensitivities with dairy products in particular, it could be a casein sensitivity, casein being one of the proteins in milk, and that can cause a sensitivity. Well, in the case of the digestive system lining, it can cause an irritation to that lining, and the more that irritation and inflammation goes on, the gut barrier, the tight junctions in the gut that goes from the inside of the gut to the bloodstream can open up a little bit so that those barriers do open, and if those openings enlarge, we call that leaky gut. That's not good because bigger chunks of stuff get into your bloodstream, causing a whole cascade of problems potentially, and there we go. Okay, so now that I don't have the same issues. In other words, when people heal that leaky gut, if they're eliminating foods that they're sensitive to, that gut lining can heal, and it can heal to enough that you might be able to tolerate foods that you were sensitive to in the past in small amounts. Okay, we can talk about that some other time in some other shows as well. Regardless, I still avoid it, but I'm not completely free. In general, I've stuck with the elimination cleanse diet and feel pretty good. I very rarely eat any of the foods not on the list, but occasionally consume the ones that I don't have problems with. So what she found is when she did this cleanse on top of gluten and dairy-free, she eliminated a whole bunch of other foods. That's certainly one way to do it. But one thing that she's noticed is some of the foods on the cleanse that she eliminated, she was able to tolerate and put those back in. And that's quite reasonable, and I found that with many patients through the years. So she says, I feel stronger, more radiant, less tired, less cranky, and just so much healthier. She's so thrilled that she tried that, right? Years later, doing pretty darn well. So that's just another case. I could go on and on with other cases. Oh, yeah, that does bring up another one that I just thought of. I don't have this one written down, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I remember, and this probably is like 20 years ago, and a man is seeing me, and I'll say at the time he was probably in his 30s, and I'm working on him in his spine, and he would get these allergy symptoms in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the summer. So he didn't have any springtime allergies. He didn't have any fall allergies, but he had these allergic symptoms in the summer. Watery eyes, runny nose, breathing trouble, and so forth, and just didn't feel good, okay? So, being a good little investigator, as I'm supposed to be, I stopped peppering him with a variety of questions. Okay, what's changing? What's different? Do you have any symptoms in spring and fall? No, because that would lead me down the train of having seasonal allergies and so forth. And I kept asking him, what changes? Is there anything different? He said, it was kind of over the summer. I think he had 4 young kids. I think he might have had 4 daughters, actually. And, I said, are there any different, do you guys travel a lot? Do you go camp? No, we don't do that. And after this line of questionings, we finally figured it out. He said, in the summer, I take my kids to go get ice cream like twice a week during the summer. Hot summer, kids want the ice cream, boom, off they go and do that. I thought, that's got to be it, right? So he said, well, no problem. I mean, I can just get a Italian ice or something like that when the kids all get ice cream. Great. He tried that. Boom. It completely knocked out his symptoms. So it took us a little bit of just really figuring out what was different, and it was simply ice cream, which obviously means he has a dairy sensitivity. So he was thrilled to know what it was. He didn't have to change his enjoyment at all. He just got a different product when he was with his daughters at the ice cream stand. He got something different, non-dairy, and he was good to go. So if you're a person that has any of these symptoms, allergies, seasonal allergies, the one with Leanne that was she had the sciatica and severe allergies year round. So when I say allergies, you can have allergies year round. They might increase in the spring or increase in the fall, but if you're having the sinus congestion and runny nose year round and always having these issues, there you go. Oh, and another side note, when people come to me and they're having an acne problem, specifically teenagers, if they're having trouble with acne, this is another indication that I will say give a trial of no dairy products. Now, in the case of acne in teenagers, I really make sure they're going to do it for 90 days. That's very important because it's going to take time for the skin to heal and for the acne to heal. Is it going to work in all kids? No, absolutely not. Okay. But if they stick to it, and a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers, girls and boys, they are motivated because they're not happy to have acne, right? So they're motivated. And as a matter of fact, I have a teenager right now at the beginning of the year in 2024. He went gluten and dairy free, very motivated. And his mom said, he is sticking to it right now. And we're at the end of April of 2024, 4 months in, and he is sticking to it. And I'm really proud of him to do it. And yeah, he thinks it's helping. So anyways, in the case of acne, you've got to give it more time to allow that skin to heal. You're not going to see a change in 3 days, like the man I talked about at the beginning of the show. So give it time. But that's another reason that I would recommend a no dairy trial is somebody with acne. So allergies, seasonal allergies, acne, asthma, skin issues such as psoriasis and eczema. I didn't bring some of the other testimonials that I have with people with skin issues that have noticed a nice change when they have eliminated dairy products and they stay with it. I've had women tell me that their hair is better because obviously hair follicles in the skin and so forth. So if you have an inflammatory reaction to the skin, it can bother hair. So that can make a change there and so on. So if you have any of those symptoms, it would be a good idea to give no dairy products a try. Lastly, you'll see this on some of my other testimonials too, and even on my website, is you'll see testimonials with children that have had bad asthma that responded really well to chiropractic care. So no dairy might work for some people, might be the thing that worked for them, but for some people, they need to do other things as well. So they need to do the chiropractic in conjunction with no dairy products. Maybe they need some targeted supplements, anti-inflammatory supplements. For some people, they might need to eliminate gluten, like I talked about with a couple of the patients here. So or you might need a full battery of food sensitivity testing. And I and many other naturopaths, homeopaths, even medical physicians, chiropractors, and so forth, internists, are familiar with food sensitivity testing, And so you can have a panel of 100 or 200, 250 foods run with your blood and find out if there's any sensitivities that you otherwise would have difficulty pinpointing. So that's another train that you can go down if you're investigating gastrointestinal symptoms, skin trouble, allergies, asthma, eczema, and those types of things. So consider that. And one last point about dairy products, just from a conceptual standpoint, is dairy products, if you think about it, cow's milk, what does cow's milk exist for? It exists for baby cows. Baby cows drink cow's milk. Adult cows don't drink milk. Adult animals of any sort don't drink any milk. Once weaning has occurred, they move on to solid food, and that's the end of their milk consumption. Do you follow? Do you follow what I'm talking about? Okay. So baby kangaroos, when they're finished with kangaroo milk, they're not drinking milk as adults. Nor do baby rats, and after they get weaned, and cats and dogs and any other mammal that's consuming milk, they're weaned, they're off their milk, they move on to solid food. Okay? Humans, same way. Once we're weaned, we move on to solid food, right? So here we are as adult humans drinking not only milk, which we're supposedly weaned off of, but we're drinking the milk of another species. So that's one of the issues. The proteins in the dairy products is designed for baby cows, not for adult humans. So our immune system looks at the protein, some of us, now not all of us, some of our immune systems look at the proteins in dairy's milk and says, I don't like you, and mounts an immune system response. Do you follow? And that's when you get symptoms. So you get increased mucus production because the immune system is angry. Fine. So then you get the runny nose and congested sinuses and all the allergy symptoms, sneezing, coughing, respiratory symptoms. And then you get gastrointestinal trouble for the reasons that we talked about, because the immune system is mounting an attack, and so forth. If you have the sugar, the lactose intolerance, you might get symptoms in your gastrointestinal system, right? Because the body doesn't like those substances. It sees it as foreign, it sees it as an adverse invader, and mounts an attack. And that's why some people will get no response, because all of our immune systems are different. With dairy products, some people have no symptoms at all. Other people have very mild symptoms and might not even recognize them. But other people that fall into this big bucket of moderate symptoms, allergies, seasonal allergies, asthma, gastrointestinal symptoms, and so forth, they have an immune system that's mounting an attack, and that's where all of this comes from. So again, conceptually, you're thinking about it like this. It's dairy products, cow's milk, designed for a baby cow, not for adult humans or even human babies, right? So that's the difference of it, and that's why you can see that it's not a food that's necessarily good for all people. So consider that elimination from a conceptual standpoint, and then you can see I was just touching the surface of all the people just in my little office that have responded by trying with no dairy products. But if you expand this out, there are millions of people across the world that have been helped by just that dairy elimination. Give it a shot. If you like this show, let us know. Give us some feedback. Give me some feedback. I'm happy to talk about these things and other topics. Please join me again. I'm Dr. Scott Fuller. Thank you. Thank you for listening to A Fuller Life podcast. For a video of this podcast, go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Scott Fuller, which has a lot of additional content.